Hey everyone, so today I'm looking at a premium extension for Cinema 4D called DEM Earth. So as a freelancer, I create a lot of map animations, and over the past few years, my primary tool has been Adobe After Effects. Now, more and more, I've seen requests coming in for clients for really complex 3D visualizations, things like 3D terrain and 3D extruded buildings, things that you can create inside of Adobe After Effects, but it really isn't the perfect tool. It really requires a proper 3D program. So I've been really looking around and researching the various 3D programs and premium extensions to try to find out the best tools to accomplish some of these visualizations and things that these clients are asking about. And that's how I stumbled across DEM Earth. So let's jump in and take a look what you can do with this tool. The DEM in DEM Earth stands for Digital Elevation Model. It's essentially height data of a specific area, and it really reflects the elevation levels of bare ground without any buildings or trees or any objects. And you use this data in 3D programs to generate the 3D terrain. So what can you do with DEM Earth? Okay, once installed, you'll see up here you have your DEM Earth drop-down menu, and there's a handful of tools. I'm not going to be going into depth, obviously, into all these. There's a lot going on here, but I'm going to show you the main features of this tool. So at the top, we have the geocoder. This is going to allow you to search locations. You can do that via keywords, or you can paste in coordinates. So let's create an animation, or let's create some terrain from the island of Dominica. I'll search that, and then when I click on this Go To button, it's going to automatically create this new object, and it's going to immediately give us that digital elevation model, apply it to this here, and not only that, it gives us this gradient texture, which is very, very cool. So if you saw my tutorial on Blender, which I did probably about a year ago, where I essentially did most of this manually. So I went and researched and found my own DEM model, and then found my own texture, brought them all into Blender manually, and then applied them as a texture and then a displacement modifier and all that. So this essentially skips all those steps and just gets you right to where you want to be immediately. So it just saves you so much time. Now, if you want to navigate around your map, you can simply click and drag around like this. And if you look over here, you can see that that's changing the offset. So this is a really great way to just, make subtle changes. You definitely don't want to mess with the latitude and longitude unless you have something you're going to paste in there, because if you start to scroll around on that, it's just going to send you flying so far across the earth that you just don't want to do that. This island is pretty small, so if I zoom out, I'm going to be able to see all of it. So I can go to area zoom and zoom out, and now we can see the whole island. If you wanted to kind of expand your boundaries here, you can go down to this object subsection here and bump up the size. Now, if I zoom in, you can see that the quality is not fantastic. So to bump that up, I can go to subdivisions, and I can start to crank this up and now take a look at what's going on. It's getting really more detailed here. And you can actually come up here to the DEM Earth menu and go to Data Manager, and you can switch the layer sets, the imagery sets here, and you could switch this to like a 30, and that's going to give you even more detail. However, that starts to introduce some other problems. Like if you look over here, you get some problems with the imagery. It's more detailed, but we're getting like some holes or some tears. I don't know what specifically that is. So you can just, depending on what you're looking at, you can swap between these different sets here. Now, if I want to exaggerate this terrain, because it's not too much going on here. So let's say I want to exaggerate this, a little bit. I can come down here to remapping, and there's height amplify. So if I just start to crank this up, you'll notice that my elevation starts to go up. So I'll leave this somewhere around 50% or something. Okay, so I already have this cool texture applied. It's like this gradient texture. There's actually a gradient section over here, and you can see the color scheme that's being used, which is customizable, by the way. In fact, there's a group of presets here, which you can switch between. You have meadows, desert. That looks very cool. Makes me want to go create some cool deserts. And then, of course, as you change these, you can save out your own presets to reuse. Now, if you actually want to use a professional existing map textures or map imagery, you can come over here to Map Loader, and there's all these different layer sets here. You have Google, Bing Satellite, Bing Map, and you'll notice all the copyright symbols here. So you see that I can't even download these texture layers. That's because I have to click on the disclaimer here, which is essentially you agreeing to that you are aware, you're saying that you're aware that these copyrights exist. Just by owning the software, you don't own the copyrights. That doesn't grant you the licensing to use this imagery. You have to go, and unfortunately this is still, one of the areas of creating map animations that's a big headache. You have to be careful with the imagery that you use and make sure that everything checks out, specifically in relation to like what platforms you're going to be publishing your imagery on. So be aware of that. And if you want to check out the terms for each imagery set, just check out the information under attribution here. So I can switch this to something like, let's go to like Google Terrain, I don't know, and then we can download this texture here. Down in the bottom left, you can see it's downloading. This is super fast, by the way. Now it's welding them all together. There we go. Now we've got this. Ooh, this is pretty hideous, but I could swap back to Bing Satellite, download this. And if I'm not happy with the resolution here, if I want to zoom really far in and the resolution just isn't there, you bump up the level here. And as you bump up the level, you're going to notice that, ooh, this looks cool. So if you look here, let's say I'm zooming in on one of these mountains here. If you want to bump up the resolution, you see as I crank up the level, the resolution goes up here and the tile count goes up. Now if I download this, it's saying, hey, it's gonna take a while, so depending on your internet speed, yes, let's do it. And now you can see it's downloading a lot of stuff. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but it's gonna look better. And there you go, a little bit more detail there. So when you're creating map animations, naturally you want to be able to take other objects and stick them on your map and then have that move with your map as you animate it. So that's where this Pinpoint tool comes into play. This is a big part of this tool. You want to learn how to use it. So let's say I want to take this 3D map marker and place it over the capital city of Dominica here. So I can go back to the geocoder and I can just search the capital city here and then push on this little make a pin button. That's going to add this little, you can already see there's a little call out here now, but this call out is just an annotation. It's not going to show up in the render, but I can go ahead and turn it off here. And now I'm going to drop my map marker in here and kind of tweak the position of a little bit so it looks better. And then now it will stick with this. You can see as I move the map around, as I scale it or zoom it, it's going to follow along. This is also a great way to draw a path. So you just come up here to the menu, and if I select route, and then down here, I can just go grab these two pinpoints and then generate a route here, and then there you go. The other really huge feature of DEM Earth is that you can pull map data directly from OSM or Openstreetmap. Now, if you're new to Openstreetmap, this is essentially like an open source library of map data of the entire world, and it's created and curated by users around the world. So there's a plethora of data sets available. So let me show you. I'm going to create a new project here, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the geocoder. Let's go over to Manhattan, and I will show you. We'll go to create a new object here. One way that you can pull OSM data is through this poly object. So if I select poly object and add it here, you can see that I can search borders. So if I click on admin border query, you're going to see it's going to search over here. OpenStreetMap query is being processed. Once that's complete, there's a new user data section. If you scroll down, now we have all of these polygons. So this is how you would draw like your map borders. So we're just going to see the boundaries of Manhattan here. So there's Manhattan. Now I can go back and I can grab the Smart OSM, and as long as that's underneath the poly object, it's only going to pull data now from within that poly. So now I want to go and grab all the buildings available within Manhattan. So to do that, I can query this by this keyword here and just select building, and now I'm going to request from server. All right, totally incredible. So now if you look, we have all of the buildings, and it's just within this area here. You can see they're just selected. There's no extrusion yet. So all I need to do is to extrude it with this selected. Go to DEM Earth, Smart Extruder, and then after a few seconds, watch what happens. Bam. Now, I'm not very good at Cinema 4D yet, but naturally, if you're good at Cinema 4D, you can quickly come in here and add materials and textures to the buildings and to the landscape here and totally customize this. But it's absolutely incredible. If you go down here, look here, we have Lower Manhattan, and look how fast this is. Like I said before, if you're doing this inside of Adobe After Effects, good luck to you. So I think this is the best tool from what I'm looking for. So it has the terrain. Clients are asking for terrain. I'm going to be able to whip up terrain in a jiffy. It has the 3D buildings, which are very amazing. I just need to learn how to texture them and properly stylize them, and it's super duper fast. Okay, so there you go. That is DEM Earth, the premium extension for Cinema 4D. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to go check out those Blender tutorials that I put together where I was creating the 3D terrain inside of Blender, go check those out on the PremiumBeat channel. I think there are 2 that exist. Okay, thanks again for watching. Goodbye.